Welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. Yes, my name is Kevin, and you are actually here to witness the 2013 Range Rover Sport Supercharged, actually. And who do we have to thank for this little opportunity? Well, it is none other than Cary Imports. So, massive shout out to them for letting me do another review with them again. And this is a bad boy I have been wanting to check out for a while. Not because it's supercharged or anything like that, primarily because, well, I hear this coming from a lot from, like, I guess rich people, privileged people, whatever you want to call them. They're always like, oh, my wife, she absolutely loves a Range Rover. It's been one of our most favorite luxury vehicles or whatever that we owned. And I'm here to now check it out and see what's the hype with this thing. So if you're interested in this vehicle, I will be leaving all of Cary Imports information down in the description box below because I do come here often, and if you're interested in one of these vehicles, you can definitely hit them up. I will say, however, that cheap, glorious warranty, that will not apply to this vehicle, unfortunately. So there is that, because it is the 510 horsepower monster. And yeah, it certainly is a monster. There's no doubt about that. I will say, though, it's a pretty hush monster. You don't really hear them a lot, but it is what it is. So this car, right? I know what you're thinking. I know what you're going to say. Yes, the reliability and all that, right? It's not ideal. Actually, it's not even ideal. It's actually one of the worst in terms of reliability and all that. I will, however, say, though, this vehicle has 140,000 miles on it. I wouldn't even know, to be honest with you. If I just looked at it, this actually looks like a brand new car. Now, that's got to be a testament to the previous owner, because this thing is in immaculate condition. Knock on leather, everything seems to be working. There's no check engine lights. All the electronics work, even the little heated steering wheel thing. I mean, everything is actually working in here right now. So consider me impressed. Consider me impressed. I really was not expecting that. Really, it needs to kick down a couple gears, I see. Anyway, I'll get to the interior stuff in a bit, though, but let's talk a little bit more about this vehicle. Let's primarily talk about the looks, because there's a lot going on with this vehicle, but let's be honest, you're going to be crawling this thing over to Nordstrom. That's what this vehicle is primarily going to be used for, if you have any money left over after buying this thing. Well, this is only 13 grand right now, but I'm just saying, if it was new. This thing, I'm not gonna lie, as soon as I got in here, I started giggling like crazy. That doesn't happen often. This thing, it really does look the part, and I'm being serious about that. There is a high level of prestige going on with this thing. It's a classic look. Wow, that is that's some serious power. It's like, I would say it's very close to that BMW 750i that I drove, except it's slower than that, but it has a similar sort of sensation. There is literally no sound that you hear from this thing. Obviously, it's a 5-liter V8 supercharged, making 510 horsepower, 466 pounds-feet of torque, I believe, something like that. Obviously, it's Jaguar inspired, so is the steering as well. It's a very similar unit. Jaguar, Range Rover, being pretty much the same exact company, same owners. This thing weighs 5,700 pounds, though. It can tow 7,700 pounds, which is another thing. And that actually makes it, somewhat practical if you're going to use it like that. That big baller towing machine. But the height of it, everything about it is just perfect. You have the correct amount of commanding presence in this vehicle. I'm starting to see the appeal of this thing. This vehicle, it's got a very intricate suspension setup. It's air suspension, of course, and but the architecture is double wishbone all four corners. So that means not only is it good off-road, which does not matter to any of you, but it's also amazing to drive on the streets. And we're going to test out the handling in a bit, but every aspect of driving this thing, thus far, I am definitely enjoying it. The brakes are excellent. I didn't really know what to expect going into this. I love Jaguars. I love the way Jaguars drive in. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that this drives really well, but yeah, this thing is buttery smooth too. Like, I'm telling you, I feel like I'm driving around a brand new vehicle. I am shocked, actually, at just how nice this vehicle is. Definitely getting some looks and stares from the Jeep boys. So give it a little launch here. Dude, this thing is instantaneous off the line. Wow. So much control. Jesus Christ, dude. Oh, man. That's quite a machine. It's quite a thrill when you're sitting up high and and you go at some serious speed, like it's in a car, it's not quite as thrilling. Like when you're sitting up high, it's way more fun. Now, one of the drawbacks is usually when you're sitting up high, like vehicles that do tend to sit up higher, there's a little bit more wind noise and stuff like that. But honestly, this is pretty quiet, pretty composed. It's a great luxury vehicle, dude. There is that excellent smoothness and refinement to this vehicle. It's doing a great job, dude. There's not a lot of tire noise either. I mean, I don't really have much to complain about other than this fuel economy. This thing's rated at like 12 cities, 17 highways, something like that. That it's going to be drinking through some petrol. It's going to be literally pissing out petrol at the exhaust pipes. That's what this thing is doing. So that's not good. But dude, consider me shocked as far as driving, as far as, you know, everything working in here. All the HVAC still works. Everything works in this car. Like, it's tremendous actually. But yeah, it's quite easy to place on the road. Like, it doesn't feel like, when you're sitting in it, it feels substantial, but when you're driving it, it's really like easy to you know, drive this thing actually. A couple of bumps where, you know, it tends to not really crash over, but like, you know, you kind of notice it a little bit more. You hear it more so, I'm sorry. You don't really notice it, you just hear it. You're like aware that you went over a pretty rough bump there, but dude, this is a very comfortable experience, a very non-fatiguing experience. These seats are really helping out with that as well. Very comfortable. Yeah, this electric steering rack is extremely responsive as well. This is a pretty unnatural thing for an SUV to handle this well. I like this more than the Cayenne, I'll be honest with you. It's not just because of the power. I mean, I like this way more in terms of driving. It's just far smoother. This is a lot of fun to drive around in. That's the appeal of these cars. Like, I know many of you are Lexus fans and all that stuff, but like, there's more to cars and all that than just Lexus. Like, these European cars, they do truly offer a very enjoyable driving experience and a level of prestige that you know, you only live once, right? It's a fun thing to experience. I'm not gonna lie to you. I get it. I get why people like these now. And, you know, because it's a supercharger, there's like no real lag with it. Now, there is a dynamic mode actually. Let me just select that here. Now, I'm to test out this handling and kind of see how this thing reacts to my little inputs here. You know, usually the advantage of a 6-speed is that, you know, it's a little bit more eager to react. Some body roll when you really push it, but as a whole, dude, even gets a little sideways on you. That's interesting. Pretty snappy upshifts. I don't like the action of the paddle. That feels kind of cheap. Downshift's a little bit delayed, but as a whole, dude, it's not too bad. Yeah, that is some remarkable handling. It's yeah, obviously, you know, you can't really fight physics. That 5,700 pounds, you do have to. Ooh, that was pretty rough there. But again, you heard that, but you don't really feel it in the cabin. Anyway, 5,700 pounds. That's really hard to mask in the corners, but it handled itself as good as it could, man. This air suspension, this double wishbone setup in all 4 corners, definitely helping out there. About to bend this little corner here. You have a lot of confidence driving this car, man. Yeah, I think we've established that this is a great little vehicle to putt around in. It does everything and more that I actually expected it to do. The comfort, the handling, the power. It does everything instantaneously. I just wish that the transmission, you know, for a 6-speed, it's not quite as eager to shift as I would like it to, but it is what it is. Now, well, I guess I'll quickly mention, you know, active, you know, anti-roll bar stuff, you know, disconnects. You have all this articulation suspension for all the jumps and hoops and hurdles that you're not going to be doing in this vehicle. You know, diffs for days in this thing. You can lock it, you can unlock it with the key, you can do whatever you want with this car. But again, none of those things really matter to you. Street performance is tremendous though. Like I mentioned, I'll take this over a Cayenne any day actually. I'm very curious actually now how the newer Range Rovers perform. Yeah, very excellent driving experience. Now let's just get into this interior, because that is also another thing that I was baffled by. I'm speechless actually. Look at this, is actually a white interior too, and my god, dude, this thing it's perfect actually. This interior space, like, what is this, bro? Like, it's held up really well. There's no wrinkles, there's no scratches, there's no tears, there's no nothing, dude. It's really impressive. Actually, I was in a Jaguar XJ, and that did not hold up anywhere nearly as nice as this vehicle does. And I don't know what that is. Something about this, I mean, this is much more of a solid build quality. You really have to be like pressing up against some of these interior panels for you to notice like the flex and all that. And at that point you kind of realize, oh, it's not like really the best, but like as a whole, when you're just sitting in it, it's almost like a Toyota like quality where it's pretty solid. Like it's holding up pretty well actually, and no real rattles. I hear one rattle coming from the back, but that's pretty much it actually. It's a very minute one too. So you know, that's kind of the thing when a car rides really well, that also aids it in like the interior panels. But dude, this is 140k miles. That's nothing to sneeze at. Usually these Euro cars, dude, they turn into absolute like trash at this mileage, and this one just isn't. Seats are also very comfortable, like I mentioned. Even the steering wheel quality is absolutely excellent. There's actually like no real faults I can actually find with there, but so the age of the materials and stuff like that, dude, it's pretty excellent actually. I will say though, just like the layout of it, right? Not even the layout, just like the design of some of these buttons and knobs and stuff like that. It's a bit cartoonish, a bit childish. Like look at this clock, for instance. Like, what is like that font that they use for the clock? It looks so stupid, and so it looks like a Timex or something. It looks very dumb. Same with the gauge cluster here, just a dumb choice of like fonts, I guess. Looks kind of cheap as far as that goes. Same with some of the buttons and like the knobs and stuff like that. It's a little goofy looking, a little boxy look. I mean, I get it. Like, I get the controls, like, you know, big buttons, big knobs. You can grab it with gloves. You know, that was the big Top Gear thing. Oh, it's so brilliant, right? But no, I don't mind that. But it's just like, you know, you really have to just touch up against it for you to like notice the imperfections. Now, the start stop button is a little bit, you know, scratched up, I guess. Like, that's kind of stupid. Otherwise, no real issues. Infotainment, actually, it's the exact same as the Jaguar, and it still works great actually. All the functions, reacts extremely well, it's still very quick, easy to use. I don't mind it. This little center like help gauge thing, easy to use as well. Again, no check engine lights, no weird stuff like that. The horn is pretty interesting. It's like two little buttons here they had to press, so that's nice, I guess. Paddle shifters, they seem cheap. Like, it's like plasticky, kind of weird. You don't really need it in this car, to be honest. Just leave it in automatic and it's fine. You do have the automatic headlights. You have one touch up and down windows for 3 windows. Every window except for the driver's side window. I don't know what that is, but it's kind of strange. A little suspect, if you ask me. These are double pane glass, so that also helps in the quietness and the refinement of this vehicle. Memory seats, again, looks a little stupid and silly, you know, this like archaic design pattern. I don't know really what that's all about, but anyway, rest of it. Nice. Gear shifter here, traditional, easy to use. You'd have an electric parking brake. All your, you know, nonsense controls that you're never going to use is right here, like for the you know, crawling down a mountain and all that stuff, which you're not going to do. I do love how the climate control is completely separated from the screen. The seat heaters, that's you got 2 physical buttons here for that, which I absolutely love. And you know, it's heated steering wheel button, that's also on the steering wheel. That also, all of these functions work, and that's great to me. You do have a cooler in here. Like this armrest, it's actually a cooler. So usually I'd be like, that's a little extra. You don't really need that. But fortunately, you have 2 kind of glove boxes here. So that kind of makes up for it. So you have a cooler. That's cool, I guess. Got to keep in mind, this is like over $100,000 when it was new. So, you know, you expect to see some features here. But it's not exactly like, you know, feature packed. Other than the fridge, there's not like a whole lot going on in here. The rear seats also, you know, the seats have held up extremely well. But I'm not going to lie, there's not a ton of space back there. It's like, you know, obviously I fit, I'm 5'11", and I mean, I certainly do fit, that's not an issue, but it's just like, you know, you're not gonna be, you know, leaning back over there, I guess. There's a lot of toe room, so that's nice. I will say, getting in and out of the rear, that can be a little difficult, especially if you're over 6 feet tall. Even like myself, I barely kind of like brush the top of this like sill when I get in the back, because it is actually kind of a sloped rear, so that is something to note. You do have plenty of space in the trunk though, like that's tremendous. I love that. There's not a lot, there's no storage like underneath that trunk, like when you lift up the thing. You just have the tools and the jack, like in case you need to, you know, swap out like a spare tire, which is actually located underneath the vehicle. So as a whole, this particular Range Rover, I like it a lot. This is a great example. I don't know what it is. The previous owner took absolute excellent care of this vehicle. So it's aged really well. All the materials are really nice. Again, I drove that Jaguar and it was not anywhere near as nice or did not hold up anywhere near as nicely as this vehicle. It has 40,000 more miles than that Jaguar. So that's something interesting to note there. Driving it is absolute perfection. I actually don't have any real complaints driving it other than the slightly slow transmission, but even that I forgive because there's just so much grunt with this vehicle that it doesn't really matter. You leave it in automatic mode and it's amazing. This heated seat is definitely cooking me up. But another thing, the Supercharged V8, you don't hear any of the supercharger whine. You don't really even hear anything at all. It's just a brisk, incredible acceleration. So if you're expecting a lot of noise, a lot of theatrics, there's not a lot of that going on here. But it's an amazing luxury vehicle, very comfortable, very refined, and very capable as well. You know, I joke around about, you know, all this stuff that you're not going to use. I mean, it's like the opposite of a supercar. It's like it's super capable off-road, but much like a supercar, it's like they're both capabilities that you're not going to use on the street. But guess what? This vehicle is amazing out of the street. So I get the appeal. I'm glad I checked it out. I'm shocked at how well it actually held up. So if you're interested in this vehicle, you can hit up Cary Imports. It is definitely located here. It's like 13 grand, which is absolutely nothing for a vehicle that feels pretty much brand new to me. Maybe shop around, see if you can get like an aftermarket warranty. It might be pricey, but see if there's something out there. You know, maybe you guys can work something out. I don't know, but the vehicle is located here if you want it. But thank you again for watching this video. Take care and goodbye.